How many of you are aware of ancient retroviruses? This is a concept, and again, I told you we're going pretty far out there today with this. But I want you guys to I just want you to expand your minds to these potentials. Like, this is how quantum this universe works. Humanity wouldn't be alive at all if it wasn't for ancient viruses infecting us. The invader races, the intruder races, right? So this applies to these types of things. It has been said that our DNA is scientifically not all human. Okay, some portions of the creational genes carry 10% remains of viruses. So particularly retroviruses from even the common cold to what we just recently seen with the La Cucaracha and the kill shot and all this stuff, right? All the way to HIV and AIDS. Okay. And so the recent mutations we just experienced with the corona, recalibrating the crown chakra, the mind, it's further genetic mutations that occurred, I do believe, through needle technology. So I think this is ultimately the continuation of genetic modification from the Anunnaki. Okay, they brought that here to this earth, this lovely experimental place that we exist on. And this essentially, the viruses essentially have defined the evolution of the species of humanity by awakening. So a lot of these viruses actually awaken dormant portions of the DNA, the 64 codons in the body. An unawakened human currently uses only 20 of those codons. So when you talk to someone who hasn't really awakened, they have like a lot of junk DNA that hasn't came online yet. And also they awaken more of the antibodies, which ultimately host the platform for race genetic development, where ultra-terrestrial nations, cloisters, and clusters connect the passageways for all the race lines to evolve within the DNA. So these viruses are working on our behalf, and they're also working against us. It's very polarized, right? But what I can see is we're definitely living in the time of hypermutations, hybridizations. That's why we're all hybrids here. Again, the message from Andromeda has been that we are royal genetics. Okay, the hybridization is the royal genetics. But while the Earth increases the speed notch on the radial aquatic evolution, because that seventh root race is an aquatic race. So ultimately it is going back aquatic. We're going to be the next generation is going to become aquatic. Okay, so mutations from viruses are going to begin to change that genetic information that's being passed down to the next generation. So some of these generations can be defined by cell infection cycles, basically. And the mutations are editing the genetic material. And higher the mutations, the higher the genetic diversity and the extinction of designs that don't actually fit into the next Earth frequency. So these are called indicator species. And I'm going to show you a little clip of Teal Swan talking about this. So
the reason that you opted to come into this world sensitive is because this world is being destroyed by lack of sensitivity. So it benefits the universe at this point in time to have beings be incarnating who are extra sensitive. If we have a whole society full of sensitive people, cannot create the society that we have created today, which is not conducive to human health. It is not conducive to universal health, and it is sure not conducive to integration. The sensitive individual represents the future of humanity. I don't know how many of you have heard of these like indicator species. If you see an ecosystem, there will be one sensitive species that starts to decline first. You may see no general impact in deer, but you may see frogs dying. Now, when that frog dies, that's an indication that the health of the entire system is at risk. Sensitive people on the planet today are the indicator species. They're the part of the Earth ecosystem that are saying, wait, something is not working for us here.
That's what she's talking about. She's talking about the sensitives exhibiting signs of a weakening genetic code. And the truth is that the sensitives represent the future of humanity, right? Like, we are the indicator species. We're the ones saying like something's not right here. We see all the things that are going on globally with I mean, we are living in 5D bubble traps. I'm telling you, I can't even vacation anymore without getting majorly sick because I'm going in and out of those 5G traps that are weakening my immune system. The food, the water, the air, the environment, the medications, the injections, the needlecraft technology, this is our gene code is this is like the survival of the fittest. This is natural selection, right? It's like it's a slow kill is what it feels like. It's a slow kill. So they're saying their sensitivity shouldn't be taken lightly. Okay. And I really feel like this is kind of what's happening at this time in terms of our evolution, and that these retroviruses play a huge part in all of this. Yeah, you'll notice that if you travel, you get sick. I'm at a point now that I have to be very careful with my timing of when I do travel. There are certain times of the years I do not do well if I travel in the winter at all. I have to kind of keep it where I have to go and I'm at the highest peak of my health. Yeah, a lot of toxicity. We are very resilient. Absolutely, we definitely are. I feel like this was something that kind of really resonated with me though in terms of indigos, empaths, starseeds, light workers, those of us who are on this path. We are the sensitives though. I mean, we are the indicator species. We're the ones who are sounding off the alarm. We're the ones that are speaking about the things that are not right, the evils of the world. We're the ones using our voices. We're the ones saying like, hey, we have to make changes. We have to make changes. Another example of this retrovirus perspective or theory is that these ancient viruses, again, some of them working against us, some of us working with us and towards the evolutionary advantage. So 150 million years ago, the synaptin protein was mutated, creating the placenta in mammals. So this particular virus in creational history is a defining point that allowed humans to reproduce life. And this is the virus that gave life to the placenta. So an ancient virus that gave us an evolutionary advantage. This has since evolved into different formations of this particular protein, but nonetheless, it has been responsible for the placenta in mammals. So a virus is one of the epic reasons why we can reproduce on this planet. Crazy, right? I mean, there's been a lot of studies about this. You can Google this. You can vet this information out yourself. I highly encourage you to do that. It just adds an interesting twist on all of this. To me, that is very mind-blowing. And I was excited to really share this with you guys today just to see what are you guys going to think about all this? From a human perspective, the focuses are immediate. They should be spent on safeguarding our physical body, right? For a dematerialized consciousness that cannot anchor into the Earth's grids without a body. From the perspective of an ultra-terrestrial, these processes have continued to evolve and define humanity over 150 million years, extending into the time capsules of our pre-universal ancestors. The mutations on this planet will continue to be mutated by the ocean, as this is the elemental awakening needed to alter the remaining life forms genetically encoded to continue attain life on this planet. Again, talking about that 7 root race that may even return to the sea. We may be returning to the sea. Now, the 150 million year marker is also quite significant in terms of reptilians, in terms of draconic and dragon lineages, and human modification markers, which we're going to ultimately get into. Much of the virus may be responsible for some aspects of life. It may also equally be responsible for the causes of evil and darkness in all universal earthbound and cosmic living species. So we know that there is light. We know that we have light. We know that we have darkness. We know that there's a living light code. There's a living shadow code. But then there's something else that's here, right? Because it's like we understand we have to see inside of our darkness and our living shadow. But then it feels like there's something on the total end of the scale, which is just downright evil, right? We have evil that's here. And so we have these two polarities that are running when it comes to galactic histories, who are the good guys, who are the bad guys. But then we have something else. Okay. And this is examples of the old dark ones. I have this picture here so I can move it around so we can look at it. But I just wanted to bring some awareness around this, that I think these viral mutations are a component in what we define as evil on this earth. And I think it's important to bring awareness around this. We talk about the needlecraft technology, the La Cucaracha, and everyone was getting that. And we're talking about this being infiltrated by the squiddlers. We were talking about it being infiltrated by the draconic gene code, that they're inserting the draconic gene code through needlecraft technology to mutate the species, right? The driving force behind this may be viral mutation. So yeah, you have your own discernment around these things. Just, you know, observe this here and tell me what you think. But I have found a lot of supporting evidence to the fact that darkness is not actually bad, right? We have this principle of yin and yang, and these are balancing forces of our particular universal matrix system. We live in a dualistic system. The cosmic structure of the Milky Way is a barred system. So either, no matter what we're doing, if we're here on Earth, we are dealing with that polarity. And so due to that architectural structure of the Milky Way, I feel like what is rooted as evil is something different. I feel like this is what is viral. So it's important to bring this up and understand, particularly when it comes to the inheritance of the universe, what has come down through these massive trigger events and the antagonistic timelines and events of warfare that have unfolded. What we're dealing with may in fact be a microscopic warfare plaguing the entire multiverse. A microscopic warfare. Okay, meaning that these viruses, these old dark ones, these microparasites, may be the driving mental force to why we have psychopaths, why we have the elite, why we have, you know, the height of this hierarchy that comes down and infiltrates into particular, it might even be susceptible to particular bloodline codes, such as reptilian, such as Draco, such as the Cthulhu order, such as the Anunnaki order, that if these parasites infect these particular bloodlines or species. Also, another thing to take note of, and she's saying, yes, it's always been a micro, aka underworld micro. Yes, sister, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, I'm telling you, let's create some type of healing to heal all the microparasites, and we might be onto something here in terms of healing the earth. It's also believed that galactic parasites and viruses and bacteria are actually the source of this darkness. You know who talks about it is H.P. Lovecraft, and I know this is like kind of, you heard of the author H.P. Lovecraft. Write it down, Noka. We'll put that on the reference list. This is the one author that's brought forth a lot of these concepts. It's been brought forth in a fictional type of way, but it's I think there's some truth to it. I think there is some truth to it. That the microparasites of our universe are responsible for this unknowing darkness. It seems to be a very unconscious seated thing, bringing forth predatorial aggression, triggers to the fight or flight responses in the reptilian part of the brain, and war bodies, also savage consumption and cannibalistic and satanic minefields. Exactly, the Cthulhu. That's what you see here in this picture. This is the dissension overlordship to deeply consider here. That the Cthulhu came forth through nanonecromatons, aggressive blood-sucking vampiric nanoparasites that get into the brain mentality of living creatures and hijack the reptilian brain cortex. Okay, and that descendancy of what were considered intruder or invader galactic races may have evolved from microgalactic parasites. And how would that have came here? Can you move the top pic for someone to see? Okay, sure. So this would be the Cthulhu. This would be a nanonecromaton. This would be a microparasite. And they're like creepy looking, right? Like if you put this stuff under a microscope, creepy stuff. But this is really what it actually looks like. I don't know if you've seen a parasite under a microscope, but they are really creepy. They have like very big mouths and multiple eyes and teeth. So I mean, this could be, I mean, we've been impacted. They say that the DNA strand, the DNA evolution came through the implosion of meteorite impact. So it can be coming through meteorite impact. It can be coming through, they look like the robots off the Matrix film. In mystery school, I learned that the forbidden apple was actually a dark ET microparasite that corrupted desire to insatiable hunger. So always feeling that you need more, and then intaking guilt and shame through the digestive system. Totally. There's a guy on YouTube that I love to watch him. His name is Dr. Kassar from the Earther Academy. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Dr. Kassar, the Earther Academy on YouTube, but he is constantly talking about this concept, constantly talking about how we must be cleansing the gut from parasites. Okay, because all of the meat, all of the fish, if you eat sushi, if you eat anything raw, there's parasites. I mean, it's all about, I think to purify is cleansing our body of parasites. So yeah. And Cthulhu is this is a deep Pacific oceanic creature. So meaning that this parasite seeded into the deep Pacific and is the overlord to the Galactics, is the overlord to the Dracos. The Dracos are the overlords to the Anunnaki, and it just keeps on going down through our political systems and everything. Or if you have Lyme autoparasite in you, totally makes sense. Yeah. Right. So yeah, we're on to something here with this. This I do believe is probably at the root core of what we would call the intruder or the invader galactic races that have evolved from microgalactic parasites. So let's get further into galactic history here to define more of what this looks like in terms of the primary Earth races. Now, this isn't the only aspect of the galaxy. I mean, this is just one thing. I mean, we're fighting this parasitic invasion. We're fighting this root of evil. We have to try to pinpoint it somewhere. I think this is a good way to take the blame off of particular race lines, because I really get frustrated with the concept. And I know I talk about it in terms of this being the Draco's fault, this being the Anunnaki's fault, this being this, and this being that, these being like, there is light and there is purity within those systems as well. And so I think we have to understand more of the nature of our existence versus just blaming everything on particular race lineages. And so that's kind of the point that I'm trying to make. So let's talk about Laniakea. Okay. This was something that came into my field of awareness about 3-4 years ago. I mean, this is all relatively new information. I think that the knowledge of Laniakea came forward in 2014. And I like to call Laniakea the immeasurable heaven, considered the immeasurable angel of the cosmic womb. So we are an ever unfolding and biological extension of this unbounded celestial form. What is it that we are looking at here, guys? Do you know what this is? What is it? I've thought, hey, this is the cosmic womb. I have thought, hey, this is the Dragon spine. Like, are we inside of a dragon? Are we literally inside of a dragon? I feel like we're inside of a dragon. I mean, when we look about the original races that were here, when we go back to the original Magi Grail lines, when we go to the trajectory of North and Odenma, Odenma being the origination point in terms of Celtic and Druid mythology, we talk about it being dragon lineages. Everything descended down from the dragon. Everything. So is this a dragon spine? That's what I think when I look at this. We are an ever unfolding biological extension of this unbounded celestial form. Trillions of galaxies merge together to create a beautiful streak up against the darkness of gravitrons and the fabric fibers of the threshold. The angelic inheritance seems to be the true substance of the galaxy. All life forms interconnected from the eternal bodies of our pre-universal garden worlds. This is, I feel, is the greatest and highest nature of guardianship, guardian consciousness. Okay, to realize we are beyond starseeds, guys. I know this is a starseed course, but guess what? You're a galaxy seed. Surprise, surprise, you're a galaxy seed. So I do believe that the knowledge of Laniakea is, like I said, it's relatively new. 2014, an astronomer in Hawaii found it. What you're looking at is a picture of the Laniakea supercluster that encompasses approximately 100,000 galaxies stretched out over 520 million light years. So the way I have come to see this, that in terms of our Milky Way, in terms of our local closest stargates in the Milky Way universe, Laniakea Nations represents our council member to the galactic descendancy, meaning that, okay, this is meaning that the stars that we see in the sky, like we're looking at Orion, we're looking at Arcturus, we're looking at Lyra, Hydra, Sextans, whatever you think you are, Aldebaran, Regulus. We got a whole list. We got a whole playlist that we have as a resource for you guys that you can go and check out your origins, whatever you think you are. We got a big playlist for you guys. That these particular origins also have a descendancy path, that the stars that we see are also ambassadors. So we're the human form of these ambassadors, but the stars that we see are ambassadors to greater supercolossal nations in the Laniakea system. Some just being born here now for the first time, some descending from cloister supercolossal cluster galaxies from the greater Laniakea system. Okay, so I feel like this is really close to the universal truth to humanity. You know, some of it's being accepted, some of it not, some of it being known, some of it being hidden. But the universal guardian nations being the 6 main starseed origin facets. So the Orions, the Arcturians, the Lyrans, the Pleiadians, Sirians, Andromedans, those were the ones that took the guardian contracts. Everything else is technically occult, but everything may have descended from this 200 trillion light year ago Laniakea system. This is just a picture of these super colossal cloisters and where we are. This is the Pegasus cluster. Okay, we have the super Virgo supercluster. We have the Hydra supercluster. You know, that activated me. Come on. I saw that and I said, well, I'll be darned. I'm from a super colossal system from the Laniakea system. I'm not even from the Hydra system in the Milky Way universe. I'm from Laniakea. Oh my gosh. This just gets me so hyped up because it's exciting. The truth is the galactic timeline history is vast. It's hugely unexplored in terms of our multi-galaxy existence, meaning that the races incarnate down to Earth ultimately could be completely unmeasurable. So what you are as a starseed, even if you feel you're a starseed, you feel called to this, but you're like, I don't resonate with these systems. Well, guess what? There's a reason why. It's immeasurable. It's completely immeasurable. So I told you, we're going to break this down to a very expanded viewpoint here. Like we are, I mean, the Milky Way system is so you have to go through this Virgo supercluster here to even get to the Milky Way system. We're not even a part of any of this. Okay, so the potential of life, the potential of seedings, the potential of what we are, it's infinite. There's nothing to measure this at this time anyways. The ones that have come to Earth have told their stories through our generational, civilizational, human ancestors over and over, and have prepared our consciousness each precession cycle through your incarnational encoding to receive their messages. Okay, so we are being taught by our origins of our greater galactic history. Nothing has really been a surprise. Everything has been dreamed awake. We are dreaming awake this knowledge from the antimatter template, from undisclosed locations of the galactic angelic jungle of Laniakea. Now, most of us here on Earth, Starseed potential, we're working within a 12-dimensional spectrum of the avatar body, which is raising into the Christic consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, the savior type of stuff, right? It's beyond the savior consciousness, right, though, because we transcend the savior consciousness, we transcend the enslavement consciousness, and we become creator gods, we become source ourselves. But this expands us into that 13 to 22 dimensional spectrum of information, which is where galactic consciousness comes in. And then we expand into a 48 genetic variety of symbolic cloister homes from our galaxy nation systems. Okay, I had a picture of this stuff somewhere. I want to try to define this for you. Let's see if I have it. If you guys were to see my office or my desk, it would be really bad. Okay, I don't have the picture. I used to have a picture of a 48 gene code universal tree of life, but ultimately what we are doing as starseeds is we are becoming every single genetic composition in the cosmos. We are becoming that. That's why Light Star can channel 20 different races, and she has 125 in her Akashic record she can pull down. We are becoming everything that is within this entirety of that. The job as a starseed encoder is to become that race genetic morphogenetic identity spectrum field, and we transcend the limitations of that gene code within our junk DNA. So we evolve the race species through that process. That's what we're doing. And so it matters where you are in that process. You know, some of us are just getting the avatar codes. Some of us are just going 12D. Some of us been galactic for a while. And we realize what we're doing. We're evolving these symbolic cloister races. So we become everything. And this variation shifting within a different version of life in the Milky Way, all carrying the same mission of creating. What we're doing is we're creating physical, immortal sustainability from cataclysmic implosion. That's what we're doing. We're trying to evolve the species out of the templating of devastation and total wipeout of our species. Okay, so this may even be some of the fundamental mental based components, fundamentalism behind artificial intelligence. Why that's even happening here on this earth in the first place. Not saying that I agree with that at all, because you know that I'm a guardian and I'm all about organic consciousness, but there has to be something behind this that's driving this force. Okay, so it's a total species desire to get off planet and to become a multi-planet species that can somehow escape the reincarnation and earthbound prison system. This is the same desire that seeded the earth in the first place and surrounding sister nurseries. It is the desire to love, thought to be the motivating principle that expands the universe. So love being that motivating principle that expands the universe.